Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. Good afternoon, everybody, and I'd like to ask a burning question, if I could. And that would be, so you know that you're sitting here and you've got a physical body. You see it. You feel it. Sometimes it is a pain in the butt to have a regular body like this because it hurts a lot. Or maybe not. But is that all there is? Or is there a manifestation of something that's a little bit more permanent, that has been here for a lot longer, that reflects who you really are, not what you see in the mirror? Have you considered that possibility? Well, today we get to consider that in depth because we have a wonderful gal. She is, she's a channeler. She works with your soul. She helps you connect yourself, your physical body and your physical mind to your soul so that you can understand a little bit more about and what we say in the opening, why you're really here. What are you doing here? What is the purpose of you being here? It isn't just to, as George Patton said in Patton, to shovel poop in Alabama. That's not why you're here. You're here to do something extraordinary. And we all are. Everybody gets that opportunity. And sometimes it takes somebody else in our world to help us understand that and to move forward with it. She does what's called channel clearing. It's a sacred space of spiritual alignment with your soul to acknowledge, surrender, and release the limiting beliefs that, oh, by the way, you've been gaining since you were in wee little one, because everybody's been telling you, oh, you're not that great, or you didn't do this well enough, or you should have gotten an A rather than a B. And these deep-rooted and outdated habits of thoughts, past trauma, and fear are holding you in an unhealthy state of being. And she helps you clear that so that you can live to your potential and to move to who you really are. And her name is Ann Klossing, and she is with us for the entire hour, unless she kicks me out. And it's a pleasure. Have I misstated any of that?
No, you have not. You nailed it. Thank you.
Because that is, I think that one of the things that we are all concerned with. Well, I'll give you an example. As I was coming into the house this afternoon, I had a lady from down the. I live in a 55 plus community, and she was doing yard work at the house next door where an older lady lived. And I haven't seen her in a while. And I said, so what happened to her? And she said, oh, she passed away. And that's kind of where the story stopped, because it's not like that's where we get caught up in. I don't know what happens next. What do you say next? How do you when you start talking about the human body not working anymore, do we have a soul? Where does the soul go? What do we get to keep our same attitudes and everything that we have? Are we still us? And Anne works with you to help you figure all of that out, because we all have so many questions. And because she is a channel, she is a psychic medium, and she can do a lot of these things and we can all do these things, by the way. She just has spent more time in training herself to learn how to do it. Does that make sense?
It does. And I did it the hard way. I hit rock bottom.
Explain.
I hit rock bottom. So in my life, I had a series of things that started when I was 3 or 4 years old. And that was being fondled by my maternal grandfather. It was brief. It was very short, thank God. And it stopped. And I never knew why. Did not have that conversation with my mother until I was about 45, and I'm 57 now. But each life experience, if things didn't go my way, I always blamed it on myself. It was that internal turning it around on me. It must be me. It must be my fault. And every relationship that I had was similar in nature. I mean, not that I had good friends, but as I developed as a person, I experienced a miscarriage, and then my marriage was going down the toilet because I was not a healthy person. I was in the midst of a major clinical depression. I was not making smart choices. So you add these events, and I think even in like my high school years, I was in the ups and downs and ebbs and flows of depression. So as you up and then you come down, and then you're down for a while, then you come back up again. And that's what depression does, is it cycles. So you take that, I get into college, I'm having a good time in college. But I could never get a personal relationship, a romantic relationship to really last and hold. And it was these, shame and guilt and whatever I'd hung on over the years, these stories that you create that are not true, but it's what your memory does as you start pulling these memories back up. And when I got married, I had the miscarriage, then I had my daughter. That put me in postpartum depression.
Oh boy.
And in discussion with my counselor at that time, she kind of believes that I never really came out of that. And I just kept going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, not making good life choices. I had an affair. And at that time, I had made the decision that I was going to get the divorce. And when I told my partner that, he dropped me like a hot cake. So it's loss from the miscarriage, loss of a failing marriage, loss of a relationship that you thought it was going to take you somewhere. And when I crawled out of that depression, I realized that I would have never had the affair had I been my normal self, my healthy self, my vibrant self. That part of me would have never made that decision. So then I go into another marriage that I call the perfect storm. And it just was tumultuous. And I'd say we brought out the worst in both of us. And I don't blame my first husband for anything, and I don't blame my second one. I used to, but your soul, and I think we talked about this the last time, and a friend of, I think, both ours, Brad Walsh, he had posted something, and it was like the earthquake. And I switched it into soul quake. Your soul rattles you really, really hard, and you have a soul quake. So you have the opportunity, and your soul quake could be cancer, could be divorce, could be loss of a loved one, loss of a child, whatever it is for your soul quake is. It's the opportunity for you to pay attention. Your soul is asking you, what is the opportunity in an unpleasant experience? You also have opportunity in joyous experiences. So that's kind of how I developed, was this ebb flow, crashed and dug my way out of it. So having two major clinical depressions, and the second one was during the second marriage, we had gotten into an argument, and same one over and over again, and I could not take it. And I just had to get out of the house. Thankfully, my first husband had our daughter that weekend. I ran to the north part of my property, and I sat on the edge of this field and just cried my eyes out. And as I was doing this, I had my head in my hands. Something had me look up. And I'm looking out across this small little field, and this is 20 feet, not 20 yards. So for the male listeners out there and the female listeners that think in yards, this was 20 feet. I had an alpha male coyote in front of me, and I'm trying to wipe my eyes and get my faculties, and it startled me. And he was on the prey. He was getting closer, one step at a time. And then as I cleared my vision, I could see the pack coming in. And I'm like, which this is extremely odd for coyotes. Coyotes are very cautious. They do not like to be around humans because they usually get shot at. So this alpha male is persistent. And that was the first time I heard the voice. It was, do you want this? because I was thinking at that moment, I was thinking about driving my car into a cliff, driving it off something, you know, all these thoughts of suicides. And then in this thought says, are you sure you want this? And it was like, well, I really don't want to get mauled by a coyote, because if it doesn't kill me, oh my goodness, I don't want those results. And it was like, no, I don't want this. And this coyote, step by step, they were slow steps, kept getting closer. And I stood up, and the critter stood there, still continued to take another step. And then I heard bark. And I'm trying to force out, mind you, I was crying, snotty nose.
You were a mess.
Yeah, I was a mess. And it came out kind of like Barkle. I couldn't get it out. It was so gurgly. It's like, you can't even do that right. You can't even bark right. So this dog still took another step towards me. And then I heard growl. So not only did I growl at this animal, here's this, 42, 3, 4, somewhere, I'd have to do the math, running after this coyote. And he did turn, he ran and took the pack with him. But I'm 42 years old and I'm screaming and growling and barking like this savage woman. And then I stood there in shock, because it's like, my God, Anne, look at what you have created. And I'd never put it in that perspective before. It's like, this has got to stop. And when I went back to the house, I crashed on the bed. He tried to talk to me. It was like, no, I can't process. I said, there was a group of coyotes. I said, I was almost attacked. And he's like, what? And it's like, all of a sudden, it's like, now you act concerned.
Where was you when I needed you?
Yes. So then that's when I just dove into, how can I get rid of this depression? And I just kept following the breadcrumbs, and I got in with an acupuncturist who was wonderful. And he got me on the likes of Esther and Jerry Hicks and Wayne Dyer and Bob Proctor. And my chiropractor got me on the likes of Louise Hay and Doreen Virtue. And then I just went down the path of whatever resonated with me. And then I started, writing these letters to God, and the pen was writing back, and that's where it started. But I had so many layers to shed. And when I had this high blood pressure issue, my doctor wanted to put me on medication. I did not want to go on that medication. Went to my chiropractor, and he touched my heart, and he's like, you have forgiveness. This is all with your heart. You can do this. He says, who do you have to forgive in your life? And right there, the top 3 was my second husband, my grandfather, and the big one, myself. First one, relatively easy, because I did the work by Byron Katie.
Yeah.
And when I did that, I was like, oh my God. So my statement that I wrote, and I would recommend anybody getting on her website. I think it's Judge Thy Neighbor worksheets. Really cool process. And one of them is, your thought. And I'll call him Xavier. Xavier hates me. So is it true? Yeah, I firmly believe that man hated me. Firmly believed it. And then you have to flip it around. And then insert your name. Anne hates me. So it's I hate me. And when I wrote it out and I read it back to myself, that's where I was like, my God, Anne, wow, you really don't like yourself. And that's the part of healing. It's learning to love yourself. And that's where I just it's like, all right, you got to fall back in love with yourself. And as I started doing those processes, the 22 processes, and asking it is given, my life changed. I started doing the works, and I started doing exercises that Wayne Dyer had, and I religiously did them every morning. And that's how it changed. I began to look at people differently, they began to notice, it's like, what are you doing different? You look really good.
They began to look at you differently.
Yeah.
Because I tell you, yesterday I had a conversation with two guests. Both had been sexually assaulted when they were kids. I firmly believe that most women have been. It has affected them in one manner or form throughout their lives, and each of them have just told me really basically your story, only their version of that story,
Hmm.
because it happens to almost all of us, and it happens to men too,
Yeah.
in a different, necessarily a different way. We have our own traumas and our own difficulties that we have to get through, but it happens to a lot of us. And part of it, isn't that really part of your growth mission? Because you wouldn't, had you not gone through what you went through, you could not possibly be the person that you are today, could you?
That is correct. And that is one thing my acupuncturist had said to me. And I said, God, couldn't I made it a little easier?
Well, you've heard the thing. I actually finally I hit bottom, and then I couldn't drink anymore. Or I couldn't take drugs. Whatever it is,
Yep.
whatever your thing is, and it's not until you get to a point where you can't take it anymore, and as you hit bottom. And sometimes we, as a human animal, that's kind of where we need to go.
Yes. And the other thing is, forgiveness is a huge part of it, but realizing how you think,
Yeah.
realizing your patterns of thought, and then are you addicted to any of those patterns? So I was addicted to victimhood. I was addicted to fear.
We talked about that yesterday because I said there are people out there that are listening to the show that are addicted to victimhood. They don't necessarily relish in it, but they're used to it. That's how they expect it to be. They expect
Yes.
people to look at you like you've got three eyes, or that you're not very smart, or or whatever it is. They just get used to it, so that's what they expect. Is that what is? Was it kind of like that for you?
It just, this paradigm of unworthiness.
Yeah.
And some of that definitely is my present day life and those experiences, and dragging those experiences with, and I say dragging them with because we keep them, or I kept them at the forefront of my mind. Maybe not all the time, but they kept popping in there. And the thing is about any trauma is you survived. Focus on that. You survived. Don't focus on the event or the person who did it to you, because that's what keeps the trauma alive.
Absolutely.
And that is some thick stuff to cut through, you know, with your mind. And it's like, it's not real. It's no longer real. So sometimes in a simplistic form is we're constantly changing. And you'd brought this up earlier. So do you look the same today as you did the day you were born?
Well, I'm a little taller. I had no hair then either.
So we're not the same person that we were 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and we're not the same person that we were just 5 seconds ago. We're constantly changing. Constantly. It's a good thing.
It is. I have to laugh because we went to my 10-year reunion. And between my high school graduation and my 10-year reunion, I had changed quite a little bit. But they gave you a little picture that you'd wear on your chest.
Great.
And it's of what you look like when you were in high school. And I was sitting there talking with 3 or 4 people, and one of them looked at mine and said, "Oh, I remember him. I was the guy that this picture was made of," and she didn't even recognize that I was that. So it's like we are always changing, and
Yes.
we're and in many
Except
ways
me.
we're changing into something. You're right. You're right. But it's a good thing. It's part of our adventure, which I like to say in the opening, because this is, if you look at it as an adventure of a lifetime, you get to do some extraordinary things, and you get to have some extraordinary experiences with some extraordinary people, and some of them are extraordinarily in a not such a good way.
Yeah.
And those you kind of let go, pat
Yes.
them on the fanny, let them go and say, have a nice life, love you, see you later. And other ones who are vibrating at a higher level, that opens the door for them to come into your life. And
Yes.
that becomes an evolutionary thing as we move forward in our lives, I believe.
Yes. And the tough ones are when they're family and you need to
Yep.
cut that relationship. And you don't have to sever it, but you can minimize it so that you don't bring on that energy from that person. Just minimize it. I got that way with my dad. And it was like we had this relationship that it was arm's length away, which is good that spirit brought this back in. So when it's how you worded it, and I don't recall how you worded it, but when you transition, you don't feel a thing. You are just in bliss. And you kind of
Yeah.
get to look around. You're going to be greeted. Um, at least I believe that. And you've got so many loving angels around you. You've got all these loving people who have transitioned before you and you're met. It's very peaceful. So as I began my automatic writing, my father would come through, and it was pretty much how he talked to me
Mm-hmm.
when we were on a good term. And my father died with some regret. And that was, he told me I was the bigger person. We tried to do the intervention with him. He wouldn't listen. He made his choice. And that's when I'm like, I can't be around that anymore. I can be around it limited. And
And nor should you be.
right.
Because that's not good for you.
Yeah.
By the way, Anne, we're talking with Anne Klossing, and if you go to anneklossing.com, you can find out all about her, and you can talk to her, and you can work with her and connect with her. We need to take a real quick break, but when we come back, I would like to talk to you about that whole process of passing over to the other side, and then in the second half of the show, I want to talk about your channeling work and how you're able to help people get through some of the stuff that they have created or has been created for them so that they can live authentically in the life that they really came here to live. So we need to take this quick break. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Positive Talk Radio. We're going to take a short break to tell you audio and music creators about our commercial affiliate, Lyric Vids, specializing in creating amazing and engaging lyric videos. Are you looking to promote your videos in the most engaging way, but you don't have an animator and an editor? Whether you're an artist, musician, or business with a message to share, our lyric videos are designed to hook viewers and amplify your reach. Go to positivetalkradio.net/lyric vids. That's positivetalkradio.net/LYRICVIDS now to get started. Welcome back to Positive Talk Radio. We hope you enjoyed learning about our affiliate Lyric Vids, who specialize in creating captivating animated lyric videos. Now let's get back to the show.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. I get the biggest kick out of that song because it starts off when people are like, what the hell is he playing? And then it busts into that, and it sounds like we're back in the 60s, or the 70s, or maybe even the 80s, but that's okay. Anne Klossing is our guest today, and I wanted to just mention that we all have got family members, and my family members, my mother's passed, my brother's passed. He was my older brother. Now he's my younger brother, if you know what I mean. Does that make sense? People are going, huh? How does that work? Okay. He died when he was 64. I'm now surpassed him. So now I'm older than he was. So now I get it. Okay. That makes sense. So, and stuff, but I wanted to touch on that because when I was going down years ago, I was going down my spiritual journey, and there was a guy that was a good friend of mine. His name was Mark, had long hair. He was a very spiritual man. He loved to meditate, and we talked about these things. And one day he said to me, I want you to go to a metaphysical bookstore, and I want you to buy the first book that speaks to you. And I said, speaks to me? I'm not exactly sure I know exactly what you're saying here. And he said, oh, you will. Just like Yoda. Oh, you will. So I go to the bookstore, and right there in a kiosk in front was a brand new book that was by Dr. Michael Newton, and it's called Journey of Souls. I'd always been interested in the afterlife and what happens between lives and past life regression and all of that. And this was that. So I picked the book up, read it cover to cover. And it was about our life between lives, what happens while we're on the other side, what our purpose in coming here is, and all of those things. So and then I read the second one, Destiny of Souls, and so forth and so on. But that gave me the idea of what you just said, which is when we pass away, we are not passing away, and in many cases, we don't even recognize that we've left. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would say so. And I don't have a near-death experience. The only thing I have close to that was I had a in-day procedure done that they did have to put me out for, and they couldn't wake me up. And what I saw was just this sea of blue, but I felt light as a feather, and I felt like $1,000,000. I felt like I had the best sleep ever. And then I have this woman slapping me on the face, waking me up out of my bliss. So that was the closest thing to it. And I always think that it was all the angels over there were, don't move, don't say a sound, because she won't want to come back.
Well, now I since you have been invested in this, invested in it, and you know a lot about it. There was a story from when I was, I think I was 12, and we were at Boy Scout camp, and one of the things that we were on Puget Sound, and they have barnacles on the beaches, and so you have to wear tennis shoes.
Mhm.
So we were doing a merit badge exercise for being able to row a boat. One of the things that you do when you get the merit badge, is you have to turn the boat over and then turn it back upright again, and then get back into the boat. That's part of the procedure to get the merit badge. And I couldn't swim on my best day, but I was wearing clothes and tennis shoes. Have you ever tried to tread water in tennis shoes?
Just
It,
weights you down.
it doesn't work very well. And so we turned the boat over, and I was separated from the boat. I was hanging on, and then I got separated from it, and I went under. And the weirdest thing happened. Explain this to me. It was like I could see forever, and everything was the prettiest green, and I wasn't scared. There wasn't anything I was worried about. It was like I was captivated by what I was seeing. And then this hand came up and reached the back of my shirt and pulled me back into the boat, and that was the end of that. But was that kind of what you
I would say,
experienced?
yeah, I would say definitely, because it's nothing that you can imagine. And I love listening to people who've had those near-death experiences. And there's a reason that they have them, is to give people the message that this is a vessel. The human body is the vessel. And it's the vessel that your soul chose. So, you've got the chosen out there, and everybody thinks of Jesus or Yeshua as the chosen. We're all chosen. That is the message that Spirit has for you. You're chosen because you are the expression of the Creator. You are that Christ light. That was my message this morning, was you are Christ light. Christ light is not a person, it's a state of being, and being in joy, and being in all of the emotions. So from joy to despair and powerlessness. And when you're in those low vibrating emotions, anger, blame, despair, whatever, that you can have that awareness, that you can look beyond your circumstances and know that it's temporary, because you are more than that, because your joy and your love and your life and your unconditioned, and you're that Christ light. When you can be that person, that's the cat's meow.
It It really is. By the way, again, we're talking with Ann Klossing, and go to our website, which is annclossing.com. And when we come back, I also had an experience that happened this morning that I have to tell you, because it is the kind of thing that in the past I would just be spitting and swearing about and stuff. But in my current state of being, I understand what I did, how it all worked, and that I was being taught a lesson in the process. We need to take a station break. When we come back, more with Ann, and we are going to talk about her work as a channel and how she helps you connect your physicalness to your soul. Because at the end of the day, my first car was a 1967 Plymouth Fury 3. That car is long gone and in smashed and in the junkyard, and I've got a new car. And so that's the same thing the way our soul works. It's you get rid of your old car is your body, and then when that one no longer works, you leave it, then it doesn't matter to you anymore, and then you get the brand new car, and boy, isn't this exciting, and so forth. So and thank you so much for being here. I'm enjoying talking to you. I hope you are too. And we need to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. And I gotta tell you, Ann, she's Brad Walsh introduced us, and he is a really cool dude unto himself, and she's amazing all by herself as well. And she's a channel, and she works with channel clearing to help you get a little bit more clarity into your soul life, into why you're really here, and to help you clear up. She can't do anything for you. You can help clear up some of the issues by her pointing them out to you, and then giving you exercises that can help you clear that. I think I've stated that correctly, or close. Is that right?
Yes.
Oh, very good. Well, I have to tell you the story real quick. And this is karma at its finest. I had to go pick up a prescription, and I have to go across the valley and up. I live on a hill, and go down into the valley, go up on the other side, and that's where the pharmacy is. And the road in between, the road coming back this way was closed. And I made they were doing construction on it. And I made the mental note, don't come back this way. And because you don't want to do that, and I wasn't planning on it. So I went up the hill, and I got my prescription, and I started back down, and I was coming down the hill, and there was this car that decided that the speed limit didn't apply to them, and decided to go really, really fast, and came up behind me and was tailgating me and all that kind of stuff, trying to get ahead of me. But there was cars ahead of me and cars to the other side, so they couldn't go anywhere. Even if they wanted to go someplace, they couldn't. I'm sure you've been in that situation. And so finally it cleared, and he was able to scoot on by me and went racing down the hill. And of course, as will happen, he got stopped at the stoplight. Because he was going so fast that he had to get stopped, because he wasn't going to win this little thing. So I pulled up alongside of him and decided I was going to give him. I didn't give him a flip him off or anything, but I gave him that. Yeah, have you ever gone to be driving and you see somebody that's driving weird, and all you want to do is see who they are? just to look at them and to say, "Oh yeah, that's what I thought you were. You're stupid," or whatever. And so I pull up next to them to do that, and then I look ahead, and they've changed the road that I was on, and I could no longer go forward in the lane that I had just gone into, so that I could look at this guy and give him a dirty look. So then I had to turn right. Guess where I ended up? On the road that I could not go where I wanted to go because it was closed. So I had to go into a parking lot, and I had to turn around, and I had to come back to the road that I had decided I was going to give him a dirty look from, and then went that way. And rather than saying, "Boy, what a jerk that guy was," and I said, "Well, that'll teach you. You've learned a valuable lesson here, not to let anybody bother you." So that was because it had nothing to do with anything. It just was something I wanted to go. So I learned. So I'm now to a point where when those things happen, I am self-reflective enough to be able to learn the lesson that is being presented to me. And in that case, it was, why are you letting all this crap bother you? You're going to get there anyway.
Correct. And then it led you down a path that just took a little more time.
Exactly. Now the problem is that I was on a timeline because I had a date with a beautiful woman here that I was going to talk to you, and I didn't want to be late. So, but that's one of those things where it's like, okay, now you just need to calm down because you did this. Nobody else did this to you. You
Correct.
created this all by yourself, and you didn't need to.
Yes, I'm certainly glad that I do not live in the city and I don't have to deal with all the traffic. But we still have our things here where you get behind the big manure hauler, or you get behind the tractor and a drill like I did today. And it's like, I don't think I can get around this one. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, Spirit, what road do I take? I had forgotten about Dodge. So I went up, took rock school, cross country. Then I took Dodge. It was a lovely drive.
Well, see, and if we
I
approach
still got there on time.
yeah, if we approach life like it's a grand adventure, and when we make a mistake, like I clearly made a mistake, I didn't need to do that. It was just, and so the universe was teaching me a lesson, and so now a lot of people will say, "No, it was just a coincidence." I firmly believe that they were saying, you don't need to be a jerk. You can just let it go, and
Yes.
and stuff. So in any event, let's talk about one of my favorite subjects. Let's talk about you.
All righty. Well, just a quick note on that topic that we just were on is that instead of getting angry, bless them. Just bless them.
I wanted to bless that guy all to hell, quite frankly.
And it's not blessing with attitude. It's not bless you. It's
bless you in the soul you.
It's just bless you. And I started doing that when I was on my commute. I just blessed those people. And then just amazing things would happen after that. But what I do, and getting back to a previous story, is like when my father would come through, it was definitely my father that I felt growing up, that communication, the way he spoke, that type of thing. And then a few years ago, I was meditating and I asked to speak with his soul, and that's what I got. That's at a different level. So the soul is so pure, and it's God's source. It's a different tone. It was like, well, am I talking to my dad? Am I writing with my dad? And it's like, the pen answered back again. You don't care for this voice? It's like, oh, this is Dad's soul. And I said, well, yes, I do, but I really want to talk to my dad. I wanted that dad connection. So if you kind of think of, there's some people that don't buy into past lives. That's what resonates with me. And during one of my healings, when you're in those low vibrating emotions, you have the tendency that you want to blame yourself, or what is wrong with me? And why am I the way I am? And those type of questions. And there's nothing wrong with you, because you're perfect just as you are, in whatever state of being you are. And there's a reason for the state of being you are in. So for me, it was those repetitive ones. So each time the soul says, okay, she didn't get it this time, so we're going to go down this path. This gives her another opportunity to understand that she's not paying attention to the person and the being that she really is. So what I found was that gap in between the person experience or the experience in general, those gaps became narrower and narrower and narrower, because I was becoming aware. And when you become aware of what you're feeling, and you can be curious about it and not blame yourself, I did this. You're back here again, Anne. No, I'm here because I'm ready to learn what's next. There's a difference. I'm back here again, same old, or I'm back here because I'm ready now. I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to elevate. I'm ready to change my life. Only you can change you. And then people say, well, Jesus was a healer. He was the medium. Yes, he was a healer, but the definition of healer is you're the conduit. You're the conduit. And there's two things that have to happen with those healings. The person has to believe that it's going to happen. And that was those miracles that he created, because those people believed in him. And more importantly, they believed they could be healed. And he would ask them a question in a certain manner. And when they would say yes to that, and it was the belief question, boom, they were healed. So you had the energy of the person and the energy of spirit coming through Jesus that created that healing. So I consider myself kind of almost like, a minister. A minister delivers a message to the people. So what I do is I connect with the soul to deliver the message to you. You're the one who has to consider what the soul is bringing forward. So it's a need to know basis. So if you come to me thinking that you're going to speak with your departed grandmother, I can't make that guarantee, because that might not be the switch that needs to be turned on with you. It could happen later on. So it's very individual. And it's extremely an honor to be able to bring forth the healing that you need at this moment in time, because you're ready. And it's not a need, it's a readiness. You're ready to be rid of it. You're ready to surrender it. You're ready to release it. And these are emotions. So learning how you think and becoming aware of how you feel, that's awareness. And knowing that you can think the thought and you can change the way you feel. So do you want to stay the victim, or do you want to change your life and really start to get in tune with your soul, communicate with your soul, communicate with your guardian angel? And that's where I started, was with the angels. The angels, my guardian angel. And then that took me on a deeper level to my soul. So where I'm at today, so where I started my healing journey was in my mid-40s. And I'm 57 now. Where I'm taking it to the next level is really communicating with my soul and being the oneness and being with that creator and opening up my heart and opening up the aperture of my crown chakra so that I can receive the information and I can nail it, because this thing with the hair and the body gets out of the way and the message comes through. That's all I do. I am the message bearer. I am not the healer. You are your own healer.
But what you can do, see, we all have what I call blind spots.
Mm-hmm.
Places where we cannot go because we cannot see. because for whatever reason, and it can be the person that you don't like or absolutely hate because of what they did to you, and you've forgotten all about them, and you don't pay attention to them anymore, but they're still there, and they still trigger you.
Yes. Yeah.
And you don't even know that you're being triggered by them, but they still trigger you, and they're still very prevalent in your life because, and if somebody even looks like them, they trigger you and you don't even know why.
So this is just a visual for you. So I go deep down. I take the big old swan dive and I go deep down into the many layers of you, and I get down into the muckiness, and I go down and I grab it, and I'm covered full of tarry, black, snotty, whatever it is for you, and I bring it to the surface and you can see it. And that doesn't bother me. It does not affect me.
Yeah.
And then I hand it to you, and then we heal that. And then your soul says, I love you so much. These are the things that I recommend that you do after this healing. And then I write down that prescription that your soul gives to you. And that is your physical therapy after a channel clearing session. So these are amazing. And some of them are, some people would go, oh, how do you do what you do? Because some of them may be past lives. And I'll use myself as example is, I had a medium tell me that I was 2,536. I'm 2536. This is my 2,536 incarnation. Dang, I look good.
Indeed you do. Indeed
So,
you do.
I wasn't ready for that number. It's irrelevant. The number of lifetimes that you've been here is irrelevant. But the old soul, and I'm guessing you're an old soul too, carries around a lot of gunky stuff. So if you go back in time and you think about these barbaric times where it was divide and conquer, and it was pillage, divide, conquer, destroy, whatever. I mean, it was barbaric back then. So if you were the recipient of that, you actually have an emotional imprint from that can carry on forward into all your forward lifetimes. So that's when past lives come up, and you get to face your former life and you clear that up. You clean it up, you forgive it, you love it, and you fix it. And that's really cool.
Even if your past life that you were not a bad guy, there's lots that go with a past life that of how we lived it, and we didn't live it perfectly, and we didn't achieve what we wanted to achieve, because I believe, and I know that we come into each of our lives that we are living with an agenda. And the agenda for us is to learn certain lessons that we have either failed to learn on numerous upon numerous upon numerous occasions, or we've finally conquered one and now we're on to the next one. And so we're trying to learn that one as well. So it's a constant thing of learning and experiencing and learning and experiencing, and it can be a great deal of fun. But I wanted to ask you, because is your soul and your body are combined, but they're separate? Is that it? Help me with it.
Think of it as the analogy that the collective consciousness that I channel is, they refer to themselves as we. So it's the angelic realm and 95 ascended masters. And I really don't, there's a different vibration, but as overall, it's kind of the same vibration that I feel. But certain cases, sometimes it is different. But I don't take the time and I ask, hey, who am I talking to?
And quite frankly, it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So the message this morning is, think of the ocean, and you walk into the ocean and you're in the ocean. So the collective consciousness is the ocean. That is the creator and all the beings that are in that. And you are the individual and the person and you are just that little person in the water. You're a little big person. That's how they look at you. They look at you as just grand. So I'll give you a visual of, it's like a flume. So think of your bottom of your soul resting at the hara point, which is behind the navel. That's kind of the house, the home, the root of the soul and the human body. And then it goes up and out, and it's all around you. So if you think of the iceberg out, you turn it upside down. So that little bit in the tip of the iceberg that you can see above water, and then you got this mass below, that's what it's like for your soul, only tip it upside down. There's a little bit of that tip in you, and then all of it, and all of the vastness of you and the number of lives.
And that's why we also can sense the energy of other people, both
Exactly.
good and bad, because our soul is not confined to our body. It actually surrounds our body, and is bigger than we are. By the way, we're talking with Ann Klossing, and we need to take a quick last break. It's just 30 seconds. Don't worry. We'll be right back.
They have your eyes. They have your ears. They have your smile. Now all they need is a little more of your time. Make a difference in your child's life, because anyone can be a father. It takes time to be a dad.
And welcome back to Positive Talk Radio. My name is Kevin McDonald, and we've got a great guest for you. I don't know why I do that, Ann. Maybe it's my past life coming out to when I was in Ireland. I don't know.
It could be. It could be.
But Ann is with us, and I would love for you to tell our audience, if somebody calls you and decides they want to work with you, what's a session with you like? How does it go?
Well, on channel clearing sessions, I have opened my Thursdays to that, and I've got a space because my comfort level today is to sit down and automatic write. So I write a letter to God to communicate with your soul. And then that process takes anywhere between an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then we get together and we Zoom for an hour. So what is in the contents of a letter? Sometimes they start off showing me pictures, and it's kind of like the high fives of what they, how you shine today. And other times it's like, oh, we're getting right to the point and we're going to a past life. So it kind of varies for the person. But the high fives will sometimes lean into maybe a past life healing. That's better. I'm not going to say fix, because nothing is broken. We're just removing the emotional block that was in that former lifetime, and that you're feeling it, and you might have similar circumstances. And that's when we do past life regression, that's one of the biggest comments that I heard. It was like, there's so many, I can think about so many times that this is reflecting in my life today. And when they clean that up, then they can move forward. And it's really beautiful. So when we don't do a past life regression, it could be a circumstance where you are just stuck today. Maybe it's a relationship issue. Maybe it is I really don't know where my trajectory is going right now. I've really got a good life, but my kids are grown and I've got this career, or my nest is empty. I was a mom this whole time, but I feel this pull to do this, or this. And I just don't feel good right now because I just don't know what I want to do. And those exercises are really in depth. Usually we'll go in and do a meditation so that you can get that introduction, so that you have a space to go to. And when I'm talking about space, we are energetic. So above our head, all the way down to the center of the earth, we are energetic. all the way down through, if you think of like a spine alignment, and these chakra energy centers actually go through us. So you know what an end of a trumpet looks like, that flume. So that opening would be in the front, but it's also in the back. So it's kind of tubular. And these centers, they circle, spiral, and typically should go in a clockwise fashion. But when you've clogged up your system with emotions, sometimes they stop moving, or they'll be going in a counterclockwise direction. But you always want them spinning and open, and so that you can get that exchange of energy and allow your feelings to flow. Each energy center is related to your body. So when you're not processing and you're playing victim, whatever emotions you're storing are going to go, excuse me, to the appropriate places in the body. So what your soul is going to do is say, let's unlodge these and dissect this. Let's unpack it. And your soul's going to do that with you and give you the work to do. So it could be journaling exercises. And if it's been like a trauma related thing, then it's going back and re-looking. How could this story be told differently? Can you go back with that past life, and can you recreate how many limitless possibilities would you have? How can you recreate it and change the energy? And you're saying, well, that's not real. I've had people say, well, that's not real. Your body doesn't know that. Your body is recalling the traumatic experience. And if you change the story of that and you change the outcome of that, your body's going to respond to that new energy. It's limitless. So you get some of that. Yesterday, the knockout, I call it knocking it out of the ballpark session, brought in a former lifetime that this young lady will get to work with. She will go in meditation with it. It's bringing back energies from the teachings of Jesus, how she will be able to utilize the information from that lifetime, bring it forth, and make a new career for herself today. And I just got tingles down both sides. So she's super pumped, super excited, has exercises and meditations that she gets to do to go back and work with that lifetime. So it really is all over the ballpark. And when I get into that state and I'm writing, it's just the world could crash down around me and I wouldn't have a clue, because I'm so connected. And when we go through that, you can videotape it and it's yours. And the letter that I conduct is yours. And it's really nice because then you don't have to take notes. You just sit there and you take it all in. So you get the recording, you get the letter, and then you've got your prescription on the things that you get to do after and following.
So there's actually even homework.
It's a soul prescription. How does that sound?
Okay, a soul prescription homework. I hate it.
Come on, Kevin, work with me. And it goes back to Byron Katie. Whenever you're healing yourself, there is work to do. You can look at it as work, or you can look at it as home play, fun.
That's not the kind of home play I was thinking about for fun. Anyway, so Dan, I want to thank you so much for being here. We've run out of time, but go to Ann Klossing, that's KLOSSING.com, and get all the information about her. Work with her. If you feel, I don't know, stuck, if you feel like you're not communicating with yourself, if you feel like you could go off in a whole brand new different direction that would make your life simply sensational, she can tell you and point out where your blind spots are so that you can do the homework, and then you can come out the other side. Anything else you'd like to add before we go?
I appreciate you so much, Kevin. And it just is a blast being on your show. And I so much love for you.
Well, and thank you as you as well. Say hello to Brad for me, and you're welcome back anytime you want to. We still have lots more to talk about.
Yes, we do. It's endless.
And just like the universe, it is complete. It is endless. And one of these days, I want to talk about transducers and how they work in stuff like that, but I've got to formulate it better. But we'll talk about that next time you're here. So thank you so much for being here, my friend.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin